Chapter 1. A new PC game was becoming very popular. The game was called World Simulator. Using it, you could create your own little world and watch it unfold before you, changing and affecting details when you like. You could even submit your world online and let people explore it. Kaya sat at her computer, playing it. It wasn't a school night, so the 14-year-old could spend as much time as she liked playing. Which was fortunate, because actually creating a world was actually extremely detailed. It asked all kinds of questions. Whether your world was stable or essentially collapsed on itself depended largely on how you answered these questions. Some were fairly basic. How many days would her world have in a year? How many seasons? The game had more than the real life for. What species were the people? For the furry and sci-fi crowds, Kaya supposed. What was your preferred starting population? Other questions were very specific and required some thought. What age did people live to? How long were children required to attend schools? What was the most commonly found hair and eye color among people? Kaya laughed out loud when she came across a question that actually asked what age children were toilet trained at. Kaya couldn't stop herself when she saw that the choices went as high as never. She set the age to 18. It was too hilarious to think that her 18-year-old jerk of a brother, if he lived in that world, would be wetting and soiling himself like a baby. Needing mommy and daddy's help to reach the potty like a big boy. The instruction book that was included with the game suggested that first-timers make a world very close to the real one to more easily understand the various functions of the game. But, it's just a game, one change isn't going to be a big problem. Kaya yawned wide. She looked at her clock and saw it was nearly 11:30 p.m. Wow, she thought, I was up late. She usually got tired and went to bed around 10:30 at the latest. Ah well, best hit the sack, then. She thought with another yawn. She saved her progress and staggered a bit over to her bed. Falling more than laying down on top of the covers. In the last few moments before sleep took over, she giggled at a sudden realization. If I lived in that world, I'd have to wear diapers, too. With that, she drifted off to sleep. Chapter 2. When Kaya woke up the next morning, the clock read about 9 a.m. She was a bit alarmed, pun intended, but calmed down quickly enough when she realized it was Saturday. No school for her to worry about. She sat up and felt something extremely odd. She pulled back her covers and looked at herself. She seemed the same. Same shoulder-length brown hair. Same pastel pink t-shirt and shorts. Same bare feet. Same diaper. Same cozy blanket on her bed. Wait, what? Same diaper? She stood up and pushed her shorts down a bit. Her eyes widened a bit in surprise when she saw it. Underneath her pink shorts was a diaper. Not only that, but it was almost entirely yellow in the front. She had wet herself in her sleep. She lowered her hand and touched it. It was a disposable, smooth with white, at one time, plastic in the front. It was fairly thick between her legs too. Clearly meant to last throughout the course of a full night. The diapers inside felt damp and clammy next to her skin. She had obviously put it to good use. But since when was she a bedwetter? Why in the world am I wearing this thing? She thought frantically as she looked around her room, suddenly wondering what else was different. For the most part everything was exactly the same as it had been last night when she went to bed. The only real major difference she had noticed was a changing table by one of the walls next to her computer desk. She pulled her shorts up and walked, more waddled really, over to examine it. It was more than long enough to suit her body. The table's legs seemed to have an adjustable height, suggesting that the table had been around for a long time and lowered so that whoever changed the diapers could more easily do so for an older child. Like me. Kaya thought to herself. There was a drawer built into the change table which, upon inspection, was revealed to have a large supply of both cloth and disposable diapers and plastic panties to go with them. The panties seemed to range from plain white to cute little cartoon and flower designs, not too different from the big girl panties she had remembered wearing just last night. Unfortunately, before she could explore any further, her bedroom door opened to reveal her mother walking in. "Good morning, sweetie," she said as she walked over to her daughter. She didn't even seem to care that her daughter was very obviously diapered, wet, and bending over a gigantic changing table. Instead, she gave Kaya a good morning kiss on the forehead and laid the girl down on top of the changing table. Kaya, unsure of just what to do here, didn't resist as her mother pulled down her pink shorts to expose her soaked diaper. Kaya's mom removed and threw away the wet diaper, then proceeded to wipe her daughter clean using some unusually large baby wipes in a box on the corner of the table. For some odd reason, Kaya didn't feel as horribly embarrassed as she would have expected to be while lying half naked on a table while her mother wiped Kaya's lower body clean. "So, Kaya, what would you like to start out with today?" she asked. "Huh?" Kaya asked in confusion. "Would you like to start today with a disposable or a cloth diaper?" Disposable," she answered with a slight blush. "Oh, yes." Kaya's mother answered with a smile, "You usually do prefer those when you're out, don't you?" Kaya suddenly remembered. She had made plans to go to the mall with her friends Cindy and Jonathan. How would they react to her showing up in a diaper? "Okay, now." Kaya's mother continued, "Do you want a thick diaper or a thin one?" Wow, Kaya thought, who knew there was so much to putting on a diaper? "Thin," Kaya answered. She didn't want her diapers obvious to anybody. "Are you sure?" her mother asked. "I'd think thick would be better. You won't have to worry about getting changed as often." "No, thin are fine," Kaya insisted. "Well, all right." Kaya's mom pulled a fairly thin disposable diaper out of one of the drawers in the table's lower section and unfolded it. She had Kaya lift her bottom up as she slid the diaper under. As Kaya sat up to get off the table, her mother told her she'd be downstairs making breakfast. "It should be all done by the time you're dressed." Kaya thought this a little odd. She had assumed that, since her mother had changed her, she was also going to dress her. Instead, she had left, leaving Kaya in her pastel pink t-shirt and new diaper. When Kaya got off the table, she noticed a big difference in how this diaper felt compared to the one her mother had just removed. The biggest difference to Kaya is that it allowed easier movement. Her walk was more of a walk and less of a waddle as she went to her dresser to pick out clothes. Out of curiosity, she started with her underwear drawer and found only socks and training bras inside. Not a pair of panties to be found. The other drawers contained her other clothes. Most of her wardrobe was just as it was last night. If there was any significant difference, it was the presence of extra space in the backs of most of her pants, as well as what looked like snap buttons along the inner legs of most of them. She chose a pair of black jeans to wear. They had the backside space to hide her diaper, and the snap crotch was hard to see. She picked a random t-shirt to replace her nightshirt. She stepped out of her bedroom, heading to the bathroom to do her hair, when she saw something quite surprising. Her older brother and father were walking out of the bathroom. Her brother, Luke, seemed angry about something. Though, to Kaya's eyes, that was nothing new. He always had a stick up his backside over something. He was buttoning up his pants, under which there appeared to be a pair of plastic panties. With a grunt in her direction, he trudged down the stairs towards the kitchen for breakfast. Daddy, why's he so upset?" Kaya asked. "Oh, it's nothing serious," her father explained. "Today was his first day of toilet training. I told him not to expect results right away. But he's just a bit peeved. Nothing at all happened even though he sat on the pot for almost 5 minutes. So, he's upset because he didn't use the potty?" she asked, failing to suppress a giggle. Her father laid a hand on her shoulder. "Now, listen, young lady. I don't want you making fun of him at all. Understood?" It's only 4 short years before you're the one sitting on that toilet for the first time. You sure won't want someone making fun of you just because you can't master it right away. As Kaya went into the bathroom, she contemplated what she had just witnessed. Her 18-year-old jerk of a brother was only just now being potty trained. She wasn't expected to use a toilet for another 4 years. This was sounding familiar. But she was having trouble at the moment figuring out exactly why. Kaya was further confused during breakfast. This whole diaper potty training thing had almost had her thinking she and her brother would be treated like toddlers. But, just like when her mother had left her to dress herself, things went almost exactly as normal. If not for the fact that she and Luke were both wearing diapers, it would be just like every other Saturday morning. Homemade breakfast, discussions of the day's plans. Diapers didn't even come up until her mother mentioned to her children that they should both remember to make sure their diaper bags were fully packed. Kaya went up to her room after breakfast and did just that. She checked her bag, which was a small duffel-looking bag under her changing table. Inside were several extra diapers, as well as wipes, lotion, etc. Everything a girl on the go would need if she were to wet herself out in public. Kaya pretty much figured her mom would make sure she took this with her. She was just entering the living room to wait for her friends when a sudden sensation hit her. Without any warning at all, Kaya felt a warmth down below. She froze in place, unsure of what she was experiencing. When she recognized wetness as one of the sensations, she realized just what was happening. She was peeing. She was standing there, peeing in her pants, and was only just then becoming aware of it. She didn't move until she felt her bladder had stopped. She took a couple of steps, and noticed immediately the diaper was a bit thicker between her legs. Not surprising, since there was a bit more there than there had been barely 30 seconds ago. Before she could figure out what to do about this latest development, her father had come to her. "Need a change, hun?" "What?" she asked in surprise. How did he know? Kaya's father had seen his little girl stop in her tracks and get a far-off look in her eyes. A sure sign his daughter needed a dry diaper. "You must have been changed when your mom got you up," he said, "but she's always forgetting apple juice goes right through you." He laughed as he led Kaya to the center of the living room floor and laid her down on the carpet. With surprising dexterity, he undid the snaps on her pant legs and opened them up, exposing her newly wet diaper. For the second time in about an hour and a half, 14-year-old Kaya allowed one of her parents to change her diaper. She was more embarrassed with her father doing it than her mother. Probably because her mom was at least another girl. Her embarrassment was amplified when her father commented on how thin her diaper was. "You really shouldn't wear something like this when you're going out," he told her as he grabbed Kaya's diaper bag and pulled out a much thicker diaper. "Mom said it was okay," Kaya explained. "Well, when your mom changes you, she can do what she wants. I'm changing you right now and I say you're wearing a better diaper." With that he wiped and powdered Kaya, then put a new, thicker diaper on her. He proceeded next to close the snaps on her pant legs. "There," her dad said as he helped Kaya to her feet, "you shouldn't need another change for a while." Kaya was actually grateful for that. The extra padding around her but seemed a small price to pay to avoid going through having people see her naked any more than absolutely necessary. She found her walk had more of a waddle than it had with the thin diaper. But again, small price to pay. Kaya's friends were due any minute now, but Kaya wondered what to do to pass the time until then. Read a book, watch TV, play a game. Game. That's it. Kaya suddenly remembered. The familiar sensation about seeing her brother potty training. It was from her game. Everything about the day was exactly like it usually was. Except the diapers. Kaya's diapers and everything involved with them, changing tables, plastic panties, and such, were the only things different in her daily routine. Kaya didn't understand how, but that one minor change she made in her game world had affected the real world. Everyone under the age of 18 years was diapered. Those at age 18 were learning to use the toilet for the first time. She started a mad dash to her bedroom when the doorbell rang. Dang it. Not now. Her friends had just arrived. She couldn't do anything now. After all, you can't just say, "Sorry, guys, I can't go out with you today because I've got to go play a video game so we can all get out of diapers." With a sigh, she went and answered the door. What the heck? Kaya thought to herself, I'm a little curious about this world anyway. This is a good chance to check it out before I set things right. On the other side of the door, her two closest friends since elementary school, Cindy and Jonathan, waited. Kaya had spent most of her time up to now worrying how her friends would react to her being in diapers. She hadn't once given any thought to how they would look in them. To her surprise, they weren't all that different. Cindy stood at the door wearing a light blue blouse and matching skirt. Kaya caught a glimpse of what looked like a pair of matching plastic panties as well under the skirt. She was clearly well diapered in case of accident. In Jonathan's case, Kaya saw little difference. Perhaps a little extra padding around that area of his jeans. But outside of that and the leg snaps, the only indication he was diapered was a bit of a disposable peeking out from the waistband of his pants. Out at the curb, Kaya saw a car, inside of which Jonathan's mother waiting for them. You ready to go, Kaya? Cindy asked. Why, yeah. Sure. Kaya was about to step outside when she suddenly remembered, I gotta go get my bag. She ran to where her father had left the diaper bag after her diaper change. She grabbed it but was stopped by her mother before leaving. She gave Kaya several dollar bills. She said it was tip money. Though Kaya had no clue what that was supposed to mean. She just shrugged it off and headed outside with her friends. They loaded themselves into Jonathan's mom's car and headed to the mall for a day of shopping and whatever else came along. Chapter 3. The kids watched Jonathan's mom drive off. She had told them to meet her outside to go home in exactly 3 hours. The kids complained, after she left, that was nowhere near enough time. But that's just how it went at times. The trio walked into the mall, each carrying a small duffel/diaper bag. There were a lot of kids there today, it being Saturday and all. Now that she thought she knew what was happening, Kaya wasn't at all surprised to see that each and every one of them, boy, girl, toddler and teen, was diapered. Many more of them were also accompanied by parents than Kaya was used to seeing. She supposed that, because of the diapers, children were more dependent on a parent to change them if necessary. Which made Kaya wonder, what would happen when her or one of the others needed changing? They had diaper bags, were they going to change themselves? Kaya suddenly had an unsettling thought, would the 3 kids be required to change each other? She didn't think she could take Jonathan changing her. Nor did she think she could take having to change him. She had never seen a boy in that position, nor did she want one to see her that way. Even if it was someone like Jonathan, one of her best friends since kindergarten. Kaya hoped she was wrong on this one. Fortunately, the subject didn't come up for quite a while. In the meantime, Cindy and Kaya talked about the latest fashions. Jonathan hung back behind them, not interested in the girl talk. Just like with breakfast that morning, everything they did was almost exactly the same aside from the diapers. The only real differences were because of them. Part of the conversation got into the ongoing fashion controversy, exposed or hidden. It had become a recent fad to wear clothing that hid a person's diapers. Kaya had to admit as she looked around at some of the teenagers in the mall, both boys and girls, if she didn't know otherwise she'd think they weren't wearing any diapers at all. On the other hand, some thought it looked cute to make their diapers obvious to anybody who glanced in their general direction. Thinking about it, Kaya decided Cindy had taken the more exhibitionist route. Her skirt was fairly short, making the cloth diapers and plastic pants underneath more visible than a slightly longer skirt would do. Jonathan seemed to have no opinion either way. He wore diapers, and he wore clothes over them. Nothing special intended. Kaya decided she liked the hidden look herself. The friends traversed the mall, visiting clothing stores, bookstores, and the like. After an hour and a half, they went to the food court to grab lunch. On the way they talked about the various purchases their allowances afforded them. Jonathan went on a bit about some comics and a movie he bought. Cindy got herself a new book from a series she liked as well as some new outfits. Kaya had found a nice, inexpensive necklace in a jewelry store. Kaya was in for a shock when she got her food and sat down. When her bottom landed in the chair, she felt a cold, squishy feeling on her butt. She hadn't been in diapers even half a day, but somehow she instinctively knew that she was soaking wet. When had she peed herself? She didn't even remember any feeling that she had to pee at all the entire day. Apparently her face showed some of her surprise because Jonathan asked if anything was the matter. "No, nothing," she said hesitantly, "I just noticed I'm, kind of wet." "Yeah, me too," said Jonathan. "After we eat, let's go to the changing rooms and get changed." Changing rooms? Kaya wondered. Guess this was it. Moment of truth. Was she going to have to change her best friend's diapers? Or was there another surprise in store for her? The kids finished their lunch and threw away their trash before heading to where Kaya remembered the mall's bathrooms usually were. There was a men's room and a women's room. However, where the family restroom, where parents could take kids for the potty and or diaper changings, was a slightly bigger room marked diapers. There was a line of about half a dozen kids standing in front of the door. The younger kids in line had adults standing by them. Though some of the kids, mostly teens like them, were there without parental supervision. Kaya stood in line. Normally a familiar situation, this was the first time she remembered standing in line here after already going to the bathroom. It wasn't so bad though. Unlike in past experience, where Kaya would be near panicked with pressure on her bladder or bowels, she could just lounge about until her time with nothing more uncomfortable than a damp feeling along her diaper area. The one downside to having people who've already done their business is that there was a definite odor in the air. Kaya couldn't help but smell the dirty diapers of some of the kids in the line. It was a powerful stink. Under most circumstances, the smell might have made her gag. But standing in line, waiting for her own chance to get changed, Kaya realized it didn't really bother her all that much. It was almost as if this was completely natural. Which made her wonder if she was already getting used to this strange new world she'd wound up in. However, while the smell was one thing, the sound was another completely. Standing in line, she heard what sounded much like a fart from someone around her. It sounded as though it came from behind her, but when she looked it was just Cindy and Jonathan, like before. It took a second for Kaya to realize Jonathan was suddenly very red in the face. Not from embarrassment, but from effort. His knees were slightly bent and Kaya thought she heard him grunt. Johnny, she said. With a sigh, Cindy spoke up. Kaya, you know it's pointless to talk to him while he's pooping. Kaya was shocked. It was obvious what he was doing, but all the same it hadn't occurred to Kaya until that very moment he was soiling himself. Jonathan finished after a minute or so. He straightened up and looked at his friends as if nothing were wrong. He even resumed his conversation with Cindy right from where he had left off. By this point, Kaya had stopped being surprised by such events. Of course they wouldn't find anything wrong with Jonathan pooping in his diaper. For those two, as well as every kid here, soiling themselves was an everyday occurrence. Kaya suddenly hoped she'd be able to fix this before she wound up experiencing this everyday occurrence. A minute and a half after Jonathan had made his mess, the door to the diapers room opened and several people walked out. It seemed like a huge crowd, but Kaya noticed they walked off in smaller groups of about 2 or so people. Kaya realized this meant that people went into the rooms in groups, performing several diaper changes at once. A man appeared in the doorway and started ushering people into the room. After Kaya, Cindy, and Jonathan were inside, he closed the door. Whoever else got into line would have to wait until they were done. Inside the diapers room was 2 rows of about 4 changing tables each. There were also attendants at each table. Though Kaya saw they stepped aside when a child who was supervised approached. Cindy and Jonathan found open tables and laid down upon them after handing the attendants their diaper bags. Kaya followed their example and did the same at an empty table. The attendant she handed her bag to was a young woman who looked like she was in college. She undid Kaya's leg snaps and opened her pants, exposing the wet diaper. She reached into Kaya's bag and pulled out one of the diapers as well as changing supplies. Kaya tried her best not to blush while the girl changed her, but her embarrassment must have shown. "Let me guess," the girl asked, "you're not used to being changed by people other than your parents, huh?" Truth was, Kaya wasn't even used to that. But she silently nodded. As the changing table attendant did her work, Kaya looked around. She saw the table across from her and witnessed a girl no older than 12 getting a dirty diaper changed by her mom. Another table she saw a 15-year-old boy getting a wiped by an attendant. She quickly turned her head elsewhere when she got a look at his diaper area. That was just something she was not prepared to see. She craned her neck to try and see her friends. They were both on tables front her, but she saw Cindy lying flat on her back on the table up front and across from her. Cindy looked at Kaya as the young man changing her struggled a bit with the pins on her cloth diapers. It was clear by her face Cindy was trying not to laugh. After the routine of wipe, powder, diaper, the attendant re-snapped Kaya's pants and helped her up off the table. She saw Jonathan was getting his new diaper on while Cindy's attendant, who had finally managed to remove the wet diaper, was having trouble putting on the dry one. After a few moments he finally managed it and helped Cindy into her plastic panties after she stood up. He put the wet diaper into a plastic baggie and put it into Cindy's bag. Cindy and Jonathan both took some money out of pockets in their bags and gave some to the attendants. Again following them, she reached into her own bag and handed some of the money over to the woman who had changed her. The college girl took it with a smile, though her demeanor suggested she had been waiting longer than she was used to. Kaya suddenly realized this was the purpose of her mom's tip money. Makes sense, Kaya figured. If my job were to clean up after kids who'd peed and pooped themselves, I'd think I deserved a little something extra too. Kaya looked and saw all the changing attendants were about college age or late 20s. She realized that changing diapers like this was probably this world's equivalent to burger flipping. Something relatively easy that most anybody could do. She joined Cindy and Jonathan as they walked outside. Kaya, thinking she was getting the hang of this place, tried striking up a conversation. "Can you believe that guy that was changing you?" she asked Cindy. "I know," Cindy said with a laugh, "he must be new or something." "Well," Jonathan suggested, "maybe he doesn't see cloth too often. Disposables are getting a lot of popularity these days." "I've heard," Cindy said, "I've always wanted to try them. But my mom and dad are so old-fashioned." That was true. In the real world, Kaya often heard Cindy complain that her parents didn't like her wearing tight clothes or anything too suggestive. Which just as often meant she did just that. Her exposed look was probably part rebellion. She couldn't control her diapers, but she could control how they looked. "I mean," Cindy continued, "disposables are getting more and more advanced all the time, right? But, my parents, they're harmful to the environment. Blah blah blah." "Actually, that's not so true anymore," Jonathan explained. "Diapers are being made now that are more easily biodegradable, so landfills aren't stuck with them for so long. Maybe they'll even make something to take care of the ones that are already there," Kaya suggested, hoping she wasn't sounding stupid. Fortunately, her friends looked at her and nodded, thinking she had a good idea. "You two should come with us next time we go to the supermarket, tell my mom all this stuff." The rest of the time passed normally. A few more stores, a few more buys. When Jonathan's mother arrived to take them home, they begged for just a few more minutes. But it was no good. She had the kids pile into the car and took them each home. When Kaya got home, she went inside and walked up to her room. As interesting as this diaper world was, it was time to set things right. As Kaya walked to her bedroom, she could swear she heard her mom's voice from the bathroom. She almost sounded like she was praising someone. Kaya put her ear to the door and listened as her mom showered praise on her son for successfully using the toilet. Kaya had to cover her mouth to stop from laughing. Just as she thought when she had done this in the first place, the idea of her 18-year-old brother being complimented for using the potty was just hilarious to her. She finally let herself laugh out loud a bit when she got to her bedroom. When she'd calmed down, she went to her computer and turned it on. She tapped her foot on the floor as it loaded up. When it finally finished booting, she immediately clicked the desktop shortcut going to the game and waited for IT to boot up. When it started up and went through the annoying logos of the game's makers, Kaya went to Continue Building and found her world's file. She skimmed through all the questions she had already answered until she found the one she was looking for. At what age range are the people of your world toilet trained? Her eyes widened a bit when she looked over at the number in the answer box. Answer, 2 to 3. Her world was set for people of 2 or 3 years to be potty trained. That couldn't be right. Last night she'd set that to 18. Hadn't she? Her head was spinning. She didn't know what was going on anymore. Was she dreaming? Was this real? Kaya pinched her hand and yelped a bit. It had hurt. But then, was the real world the one where she'd potty trained at 2.5? Or the one where she wouldn't use a toilet for about 4 years? Had she set the game for people to potty train at the end of the teenage years or their toddler years? Kaya turned the game off without changing anything. She walked over and sat down on her changing table. She looked down at the drawers that contained her supply of diapers and wipes and such. Were those supposed to be there? Or weren't they? Tears formed at Kaya's eyes as her confusion grew. Had she spent the whole day confusing reality with a dream? She simply didn't know anymore. She laid herself down on the changing table and cried herself to sleep. Chapter 4. Kaya awoke to a jostling on her shoulder. It felt a bit rough. Groggily she swung her arm at the direction she thought it was coming from. When her eyes opened, she saw the figure of Luke standing in the room, shaking her awake. "It's time for dinner," he told her. Though her ears heard nah. "Huh?" she asked. "I said, get up, it's time for dinner, runt." Luke said. "Don't call me runt," she said, her senses coming back to her. "Yeah, whatever," he said as he left the room. As Kaya sat up, she noticed that she was no longer on the changing table. She instead was sitting in her bed. She didn't move for a few moments. The room around her was dark, the sun had gone down. Kaya saw her clock's light in the darkness and learned she'd been out for a couple hours. It really was almost dinner time. When Kaya didn't come down right away, her mom came up to check on her. Kaya closed her eyes tight when her mom turned on the bedroom light. "Kaya, hon, are you awake?" she asked as she walked in. "Yeah." Kaya answered as she blinked and got used to the brightness. "The mall must have left you really tired. You missed your bed completely." You were out cold to boot. You didn't even wake up when I had Daddy put you in your bed. You wouldn't wake up no matter what we tried. You didn't look sick, so we just let you take your nap. I see, said Kaya. Her mother looked at her with concern. Something seemed off. She sat down next to Kaya and put her arm over her shoulder. Is everything all right, sweetheart? She asked. Yeah, no. I don't know. I had this weird dream. Oh, her mother asked. Well, last night, I kinda stayed up later than usual. Kaya began. She found this a bit difficult to explain but tried her best. I was playing that world simulation game. You know, make your own little universe and all that. Yeah, you told us about it before. Mom said. That was something of an understatement. Upon getting the game, Kaya had been very excited, talking about all the different features. Okay, anyway, last night, I was playing it and setting up my world. I saw one of the questions asked about when people got potty trained and, just for the heck of it, changed the number from the usual one. I think I see. Kaya's mom said, you dreamt that you were living in the world you made up. Kinda, she answered, except for that one thing, everything was completely normal. I even went to the mall with Cindy and Johnny like I do on weekends. But, later, when I went to change the game back to normal, it already was. What do you mean? It was like I didn't change anything at all. The settings were just like they were before I changed anything. I got real scared then, like I didn't even know what was real anymore. Sounds like a pretty bad dream. Kaya's mom said as she wrapped her little girl up in a hug. You have no idea. Kaya said, starting to tear up again. Well, one thing's for sure, you probably shouldn't stay up so late anymore. Yeah, Kaya said, with a slight giggle. Probably, you should take a break on that game for a while too. Kaya's mom told her, I know you just got it, but if it's caused you this much trouble you should probably stay away from it for a few days. Sounds like a good idea. Kaya agreed. Good, now, let's go and have dinner. With that, Kaya's mom got up and started walking to the door. Kaya did the same but stopped moving when she felt a sudden draft on her thigh. Her hand brushed against it and she noticed it was bare. She was also barefoot, since she felt the carpet under her feet. The shoes were nothing, her parents had probably just taken them off so she'd be comfortable. However, Mom, what happened to my pants? Her mother turned around, oh yes, they're in your hamper. When I came in to check on you, I found you asleep on your table. Your diaper had leaked all over so I took them off when I changed you. Suddenly Kaya looked downward and saw, with her own eyes, the diaper taped around her. She saw a tiny little bit of yellow on the front. She turned her head and saw her changing table, right where it had been when she had fallen asleep on it. Kaya, come downstairs, called her mom, who had long since left the room and gone downstairs. Wearing just her t-shirt and diaper, Kaya did as she was told and went down for some dinner. Kaya sat at the table, wearing only a t-shirt and her diaper, digging into a delicious dinner her father had prepared. He often cooked on the weekends, while Mom did it during the week, when Dad didn't get home from work until almost dinner. Kaya's father was an excellent cook so the food was wonderful. Kaya felt a bit embarrassed, seeing as she was basically eating dinner in her underwear. But nobody made anything out of it, so Kaya quickly stopped bugging herself over it. Kaya kept out of the conversations. After all the day's confusion, she didn't feel much like talking. Her mind was still reeling from the events in her bedroom. After all that, Kaya had decided to take her mom's advice and forget the game for a little while. She thought she would just go with it and live in diaper land for a little while. If this was a dream, she'd wake up soon enough. If it wasn't, a little time to clear her head would help her realize it. The dinner conversation revolved mostly around Luke's mixed success with the toilet. Though he'd had a couple wet diapers, but he'd also made it to the toilet at least twice that day. Once for pooping and once for pee. Kaya listened, but didn't chime in. She no longer found her brother needing help with the potty to be funny. If anything, it actually made her a little angry. Why was he getting to the toilet when she couldn't? Kaya's attitude perked up a bit when her mother told her that Cindy had called while she was napping and wanted to sleep over. Kaya had always loved sleepovers with her friends. Her mom told her Jonathan would be coming over too. Cheered up a bit, she joined in the conversation more. To her own surprise, she even found herself keeping pace with the diaper-related portions of the talking. Kaya didn't even complain when, after dinner, her parents asked her to do dishes. As Kaya took the dishes off the table, her parents and brother went into the family room to watch some TV. As the kitchen sink ran, she could feel her diaper start getting wet. Kaya blamed it on the running water making her have to go. However, it was only the starting point. A minute later, she was in the middle of drying a plate when the small cramp in her belly hit her. Given a moment to think, Kaya would have realized what it was. But she didn't get that. Instead, with the plate she was drying still in her hands, Kaya crouched down and began pushing a mess into her diaper. It was almost like instinct. The moment Kaya's body alerted her to the need to poop, her body squatted to do it. A few minutes later, Kaya's body forced out the last of the mess. Kaya could only squat there, half-dried plate still in her hands, trying to comprehend what she had just done. Her diaper sagged down from the weight of her poop. The smell began to spread throughout the room. Out in the family room, Kaya's parents noticed little sound coming from the kitchen, so her father came in to check on Kaya. He immediately saw her crouch down and knew what had happened even before he smelled it. "It's nothing," her dad called out to the family room. "Kaya just pooped, that's all." "That's all? That's all?" Kaya thought. She had just soiled herself and that was all? How could he act like nothing had happened? Kaya wondered as soon as she heard her father call out. She just as quickly realized the answer. Because nothing did happen. It's nothing new for them to see me poop. As far as they're concerned, it's something I do all the time. That realization actually did a lot to ease Kaya's embarrassment. She looked up at her dad, who was getting ready to head back to the family room. Daddy. You'll get a clean diaper as soon as you're done with the dishes. Got it? Oh, okay. Kaya said as she stood up. To her honest surprise, she didn't feel much disgust at the feeling of her mess squishing around in her diaper as she moved. It felt warm, it felt mushy, it felt like it was all over her butt, but it didn't really bother her. She simply put her dirty diaper out of her mind and focused on finishing her dishes. By the time she had finished, the mess in her pants had cooled off and was getting uncomfortable. She was very ready to be changed as she put the last piece of silverware in the dish rack. As she walked into the family room to ask her mom to change her, the doorbell rang. Her dad was up and answering the door, letting in Cindy's mother, followed by Cindy and Jonathan. They both had their diaper bags with them, and Kaya saw Cindy was wearing one of the new outfits she got at the mall. A dress that, even if her plastic panties weren't pushing the hem up a bit, would have done little to hide her diapers. Jonathan just had a pair of blue pants, they looked a little bit like pajama bottoms. Cindy took one look at Kaya's sagging diaper and pinched her nose. "Pu, Kaya," she said with a laugh, "you really do a number in yours, huh?" "Heh, yeah," Kaya said, then hit with a sudden idea, but for some reason that number's always two. Chapter 5. The three kids laughed at Kaya's joke. The adults did too. They came in and greeted Kaya's parents and brother. Cindy kept her eyes on Luke a little longer than Jonathan did. Against all conventional logic Kaya could come up with, Cindy had always had a crush on her older brother. Jonathan kept quiet. His impression of Luke were closer to Kaya's. He was a bit intimidated by the older boy. The fact that Luke was sitting on the couch in baby blue shorts with his diaper sticking out didn't do anything to ease Jonathan's discomfort. Kaya's parents thanked Cindy's mom for bringing the other two kids over. Cindy's mom nodded cordially, left and drove off to her own home. As Kaya's mom and dad led the kids upstairs for diaper changes, Cindy explained her parents had a big night planned while Cindy was gone. When they entered Kaya's room, her mom immediately had Kaya lay down on the changing table. Kaya also saw her dad take a plastic changing pad and lay it out on Kaya's bed. Jonathan lied down on it after Kaya's father pulled down his pants. His diaper was fairly wet. Looking at Cindy, it was clear she could use a dry diaper too. But she was waiting while Kaya's mom got her daughter cleaned up. Currently not wearing pants made the diaper change go a little more easily. Kaya's mom untaped the poopy diaper and opened it up, making the stink that had been tailing Kaya increase in strength. Her mom lifted Kaya's lets up and used the front of the diaper to wipe off most of the poop clinging to Kaya's bottom. When the diaper was used up, she folded up and threw it in a diaper pail before she went to the wipes on the table's edge. As Kaya's mom started, a sudden banging sound was heard coming their way. But it stopped, only to be followed by a very loud "God damn it" that sounded an awful lot like Luke. The pounding and yell had scared Kaya so much that she had accidentally peed a little bit mid-change. Apparently Jonathan did too, because Kaya's dad suddenly jumped back. She saw a little wet spot on his shirt. "I'm sorry, sir," Jonathan said quickly. "It's fine. It happens when you change boys' diapers." Kaya's dad quickly re-diapered Jonathan but left him to pull his own pants up while he went out to see what was wrong with Luke. Kaya's mom resumed her change of Kaya. She had Kaya roll over to her side while she used a wipe to clean up the spot where Kaya had peed. Fortunately, the table had a plastic mat on it, so cleaning it was easy. Though Kaya wasn't sure she wanted her still poopy but in full view of her friends. Kaya's mom had her on her back again when the mat was wiped down and proceeded to get her daughter's bottom wiped down as well. After that was finished, Kaya's mom put a new diaper under her daughter, but she didn't tape it up right away. She took some diaper rash cream and put some on Kaya's but where a diaper rash was forming. Then it was lotion, powder, and then Kaya was re-diapered and ready to go. She got up off the table and stepped aside for Cindy, who was presumably the next one to get diapered. Though before she could move, everyone in the room heard Kaya's dad's voice outside in the hall. "You know better than to use language like that, young man. Your little sister and her friends heard you. You actually made them pee, you scared em so bad." With that, Kaya's dad entered the room with Luke right behind. His shorts seemed to be hanging lower on his waist. Kaya realized that his diaper was soaking wet. "What happened?" Kaya's mom asked. Dad looked to Luke and waited. Luke took the hint. "I had to go," Luke explained. "I had to pee, and I ran to the toilet. But I didn't make it in time." "Luke," Kaya's mom began, "we're sorry you didn't make it to the toilet when you needed to. However, that in no way gives you the right to curse the way you did. Like your father said, you scared your sister and her friends to death with that stomping around and yelling." Luke looked down at the floor, but was silent. "There will be no more potty training for you this week." Luke's head shot up to say that wasn't fair, but the look in his mother's eyes shut him up quick. Consider it a reminder to be more patient about this. Learning the toilet takes time. I, myself, didn't get trained completely until I was nearly 20 years old." Kaya's father stepped out of the room and came back in a moment with a diaper in his hand. Against Luke's objections, Kaya's father took off his shorts and made him lay down on Kaya's changing table. Kaya couldn't believe what she was seeing as her friends watched the diaper change. Luke kept his face turned away. Though Kaya got a brief look at it and he looked both ticked off and embarrassed. Kaya wasn't sure why, since being changed around others and watching others get changed seemed to be no big deal to Jonathan or Cindy. Perhaps it was just that Luke was being changed in front of others who were several years younger than him. Or maybe the modesty that seemed to be lacking in Kaya's friends developed around Luke's age. While Luke got cleaned up, Kaya's mom walked over to the three kids. I'm sorry you all got scared like that. To Kaya's slight surprise, her mom gave Kaya a small kiss on the forehead. She did the same for Cindy and Jonathan. Kaya remembered the talk with her mom earlier that day, too, when she had hugged a distraught Kaya. It was another difference between the two worlds. Kaya's parents were busy people. While they were home often enough, they usually focused on their work and allowed Kaya and Luke to live their own lives. They talked, but it was somewhat awkward at times. As Kaya got older, she and her parents become more and more detached. But here, it was a whole other story. Yet another difference, and, Kaya realized, yet again it was due to the diapers. Since parents were often the primary changers of their children's diapers, they would pretty much have to be more closely involved in their lives. Kaya's parents likely provided more close-up supervision here than her world, to keep track of when she or her brother needed new diapers. As a direct result to that proximity, both parents and children were closer emotionally than Kaya remembered. Kaya had to admit, she liked this feeling. She felt like giving her mom a hug and, acting on impulse, did so. "It's okay, Mommy." Kaya's mother smiled and kissed Kaya again. While Kaya's dad re-diapered Luke, her mom led Cindy to the changing pad still laid out on Kaya's bed. Cindy hesitated to get on the bed. Cindy began. "Yes, Cindy. There's something, a favor. I'd like to ask, if it's all right." Kaya's mom nodded. Kaya wondered what Cindy was going to ask. Jonathan was watching intently too, he didn't know either. Cindy was looking at the floor, her index fingers pushing each other. "Well, my mom and dad, they always have me wear cloth diapers. So, ***. I was wondering if, just this once, you want to try one of Kaya's disposables?" Kaya's mom asked. Cindy nodded sheepishly. "I don't know. I normally don't like to butt into other people's preferences for their children's diapers. I know I had a ton of people getting on my case when I first used disposables on Luke." Cindy looked down, depressed. Dear," Kaya's dad piped in as he was taping up Luke's clean diaper. "Cindy's a big girl. I don't see the harm if she wants to experiment with something different." "Well, please. Pretty please," Cindy begged. "I suppose just one disposable can't hurt. But you should ask Kaya. After all, they're her diapers, not mine." Cindy turned to Kaya and used her most pouty, "I want this" face. "Sure, I got no problem," Kaya said. What was one diaper to her? "Thank you," Cindy told Kaya as she jumped onto Kaya's bed and rolled on top of the pad. Kaya stifled a laugh. She was acting like she did when Kaya said Cindy could borrow some of her clothes. Then again, that was exactly what Kaya was doing. Kaya's dad got one of Kaya's diapers from the changing table as Luke got off and put his pants back on. Kaya's mom took the diaper, one of Kaya's thick nighttime disposables, and got to work. Kaya's dad and Luke left, but Kaya and Jonathan stayed in the room as Kaya's mom hiked up Cindy's dress and removed her pink plastic panties. Kaya's mom unpinned Cindy's wet diaper and removed it, proceeding with the routine of wipe, rash cream, lotion, powder before getting to the actual diaper. When her new diaper was on, Cindy walked over to Kaya's full-length mirror and pulled up her dress to get a good view of her diaper. Kaya's mom just wiped off her hands with one of the big baby wipes and left the room, leaving the kids alone. "Wow," Cindy said, "don't I just look, like, completely different from usual?" Well, she didn't normally wear thick diapers, so. "Yep," Kaya answered honestly. "Totally different. Simply not wearing the plastic pants makes a huge difference," Jonathan said as Cindy continued to admire herself. Which was true. When Cindy finally stopped looking at the mirror, the kids began having fun. The kids played a few games, both board and video. Talked about recent events at school. This proved especially enlightening for Kaya. The social pecking order wasn't too different than what she remembered. The rich popular girls were mostly the same. Though it seemed that some weren't as bad as Kaya knew. Again, the diapers, which caused more parental involvement, also caused more parental discipline. So some of the girls Kaya remembered as being incredibly spoiled and mean before were, in this world, a bit more humble due to a little extra scrutiny by their moms and dads. On the flip side, some were even worse than Kaya remembered, the extra attention causing them to become more sneaky to get away with their various stunts and teasing against less popular kids. Another topic that came up were the latest teen idols. Kaya couldn't suppress her giggles at seeing the hottest teen guys of the day with diapers under their pants. Fortunately, or unfortunately, Cindy mistook the laughing for something else and accused Kaya of having naughty thoughts about the boys, some of which, she claimed, were hers. Jonathan talked about some of the girl singers out. The two girls humored him, but they were as interested in the girls as he was in the boys. Jonathan brought up some recent movies that were out. Hearing about them, Kaya learned that a lot of angsty teen dramas centered on potty training as much as the hormones and difficulties of teenage life. Movie ratings were also a bit more strict, as kids couldn't get into any move R or higher without adult supervision. While that was true back home, theaters here enforced the rule far more often. Jonathan expressed some relief that they could finally at least go to PG-13s without their parents. Kaya was able to keep up with the conversation easily. As they talked, more and more of the pieces of this world fell into place in her brain. Talking about diapers and the differences they caused in this world was coming to her more easily. After a couple of hours, Kaya's mom announced it was time for bed. She asked if anyone needed changing, but only Kaya and Jonathan asked for dry diapers. Cindy wanted her disposable for as long as possible, even if it meant a small rash later on. Kaya's mom just shrugged and let her be. "It's your butt that's gonna hurt, do what you want," she said. As Kaya's mom worked on her, Kaya, for the first time, realized that she was being changed right in front of her friends, and they were being changed right in front of her. She had watched both Jonathan and Luke get new diapers and didn't even bat an eye. Perhaps it was because she knew the two boys well, but the embarrassment she had at seeing the older boy at the mall changing stations was almost completely non-existent here. Seeing her elder brother and best friend get their butts wiped off by her parents actually felt, of all things, normal. Also surprising was that Kaya's mom made sure they got ready for bed. She made Kaya change out of the t-shirt she'd worn all morning into a long nightshirt. Same for Cindy and her dress. Cindy didn't hesitate to pull her dress off over her head, leaving her in just a baby blue bra and her slightly wet diaper. Kaya did the same, trying her best to mimic Cindy's ease at undressing in front of Jonathan and her mother. Cindy herself was no problem, they had gym together. They both put on cute nightshirts. Cindy's had a little cartoon kitty cat on it. When Jonathan was re-diapered, he pulled on his pants, which actually were pajama bottoms, and pulled a white t-shirt out of his diaper bag. When everyone was dressed for bed, Cindy and Jonathan pulled out sleeping bags and crawled in. Kaya got in bed. Kaya's mom gave the kids a good night kiss before she turned out the lights. As Kaya started to fall asleep, she wondered to herself if, when she next woke up, if she'd be wearing diapers or underpants. Chapter 6. Once upon a time, there were two girls. Their names were both Kaya. They lived in the same home, slept in the same bed, often ate the same food. However, neither had ever met the other. This was because they existed in, as one sci-fi show put it, the same time and the same place, but in different dimensions. In one world, Kaya was not yet toilet trained, nor was she expected to be for at least 4 years. In the other, Kaya had been potty trained 12 years prior and hadn't seen a diaper since. However, one day, the two 14-year-olds unknowingly crossed paths. Both girls had bought and played a game in which they could create their own world. Without realizing it, each had recreated the other Kaya's dimension in their game. It was done on little more than a whim, picturing themselves and their brother living in such a world. Somehow, this act caused a very rare occurrence. When the two girls went to sleep, they awoke the next morning to discover that they had been placed in the world they thought they had created. Each girl spent a full day in the other's home, gradually discovering and learning about the place they were in. Each gradually came to believe the game had been the cause of the problem. But when they checked their computer, each found the settings were those of their home world. Since being taken out of diapers is somewhat less traumatic than being put back into them, the Kaya that had woken up potter-trained more easily recovered from the shock. In fact, the difference in the game hardly bothered her at all. She had come to enjoy the world she had wound up in. She had created the game world she had in a fit of jealousy towards her elder brother, who had begun what she wouldn't for some time, toilet training. In this dimension, she was on equal footing with her brother in that department. The Switch had also provided, for Kaya, another plus side. At her home, she had often felt smothered by her parents' constant attention. A direct result of their being the ones who changed her wet or dirty diapers. She often felt embarrassed about being stripped down and wiped off by other people on a regular basis. Here, however, that wasn't a problem. She was in charge of her own urination and bowel movements. She still couldn't believe it when she first felt her bladder signaling her of its need to drain. She may well have wet herself had she not connected it to feelings she often felt in the instant before using her diapers. Her parents, while still providing some attention and affection, left Kaya to her own devices for most of the day. Not being needed practically 24/7 to watch over their children and change their diapers left them more time to focus on their careers. Feeling a sense of joy at this place she was in, the Kaya in panties had, at first given opportunity, removed the world simulation game from her computer, which effectively closed the link between the two worlds. She had no idea she was stranding another person in her shoes. She wasn't even fully aware uninstalling the game would really affect anything. But it had, and now, in another dimension, a girl who had worn underpants until just 24 hours ago would not wear them again for 4 years. Chapter 7. The Kaya in diapers was unaware of any of this as she woke up for the third time in a row wearing a diaper. As her grogginess cleared, she sat up on her bed. She felt the wetness in her pants and knew she had given her diaper a good soaking through the night. When she caught a whiff of a certain scent, she lifted her bottom off of the bed. Kaya breathed a sigh of relief when she realized she hadn't pooped again. She wasn't sure she could deal with that first thing in the morning. However, as she looked at her friends, she was sure one of them was dealing with it. Jonathan was still sound asleep in his sleeping bag. Cindy was lying on top of her bag, on her stomach. Her nightshirt had ridden up a bit and Kaya saw the disposable taped around her friend was a bit bigger in the back than she had remembered. She also saw what looked like bits of brown along the legs of the diaper. Kaya remembered from past sleepovers that Cindy usually had to do number 2 first thing in the morning. Other than where the number 2 ended up, it was no different here than in the other world. The morning went somewhat similar to Kaya's previous one. One of her parents, this time Kaya's father, came in and changed everyone's diapers. Cindy complained when Kaya's father had pulled back the waistband of their diapers to find the one who was messy. "We're not some dumb 8-year-olds who don't tell anyone they need new diapers," she had said when she was re-diapered and Kaya's father had left. Cindy once again wore her cloth diapers and plastic panties. They were more obvious under her nightshirt than the disposable had been. Thick enough, as well, that they peeked out from the bottom. When Kaya's mom called them down for breakfast, the kids headed down in a rush. As she went down the stairs to the dining room, Kaya thought about what had happened the past day. She didn't know anything about the other Kaya, alternate universes, or the bizarre circumstances surrounding her arrival here. Once again waking up in diapers had made Kaya come to believe that this was her home. The world without diapers was just some incredibly vivid dream. One that had carried over to her everyday, diapered life. And, she thought to herself, that's not so bad. In retrospect, she hadn't liked her diaperless dream world very much. She much preferred having her parents around more often. Her brother just a little more humble than he was in the dream. Nor did she feel any pressure to act more mature than she felt. She could be herself in a way she couldn't in the dream. Wetting and messing herself wasn't really bad at all. So long as she wore her diapers, those things would always be taken care of. She looked forward to potty training, like any normal teenager, but she didn't mind waiting. She decided, with all the trouble it had caused her yesterday, to remove the game from her computer and just return it. She didn't need to have any more dreams like that again. As Kaya sat down to breakfast, she had unconsciously committed herself to life in this world. She never had any idea that she didn't really have any choice in the matter. Which, really, was probably for the best.